some kind of storm damage from yesterday, from uprooted trees to scattered debris on the streets, and sometimes much worse. The storms are firing up in our viewing area right now, so let's get the very latest on our first alert forecast from Hutch.
Today is a Valley News Live Weather Alert Day.
Still getting used to that, Andrea. Thank you very much for that. We do have storms firing up in the Red River Valley. And moving in on Grand Forks is a cluster of severe storms in Grand Forks County, southwest of you. Storms moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour and has had a history of some sizable hail and hail potential as it works its way to the east. It's not far from the Northwood area. Storms that have been percolating up in the northern reaches were tornado warned as it made its way through and by the Lake Brunson area in the northern part of Minnesota, and that one dumped some significant hail as well. But closer to home here in Grand Forks, 545, you have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect right here for Northwood and Larimore, and that's where the storm is. Now, we do have Eric Whitehill en route to this storm to let us know what he sees. This storm was tornado warned moments ago. A tornado is possible. There's been at times some rotation showing up with this. And Eric Whitehill, can you tell us what you're witnessing with this storm as you approach?
Hey, Hutch. Right now, I'm just in Thompson, and I'm looking off to the west, and I can see where that lowering was. It doesn't look as organized as it is right now, but I will be back on the storm here most likely in the next couple of minutes. Just have to top off the fuel tank right now. Back to you.
I caught him filling up with gas. This storm's approaching Grand Forks. Our Grand Forks tower cam out there at Home of Economy is pointed in that direction. It will be making its way towards you. Let me give you a quick timing on this storm. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 11 o'clock, and the warning is in effect for Grand Forks County, and at 5:39, it should be pushing into Grand Forks. So we'll keep you updated with the latest on this. Looks like another busy late night as well. The hour-by-hour forecast is in a few moments.
All right. Thanks, Hutch. It's live TV, even if you're filling up your gas tank.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you. 2 people are now facing multiple charges in connection with a murder in Moorhead. Police say 32-year-old Cameron St. Clair and 35-year-old Aaron Sunby have been charged in the death of Richard Steffen in the 1600 block of 20th Street South. They both are charged with second and third-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and several other charges. Police say Richard Steffen was one of 2 victims injured during the incident. A 67-year-old Walsh County man is now sentenced to 10 years in prison for killing his daughter. Officials say Stephen Awney of Adams was found guilty of manslaughter by a jury in January. According to court records, he has since received a 10-year prison sentence, the maximum time for that charge. Last year in May, Awney was arrested for murder after he shot his daughter, 36-year-old Stephanie Awney, with a rifle after an argument. His attorney argued that the shooting was an accident. A 17-year-old boy from Olmsted County, Minnesota, is now facing charges following the death of his 5-year-old brother after police say he pinched his nose shut and covered his mouth. It happened last week in Iota, Minnesota. According to court documents, the teenager wanted to stop his brother from crying and throwing a fit. The boy was taken to the hospital and was declared dead a short time later. The teenager now faces second-degree murder and domestic abuse charges. He will have a hearing in Olmsted County Court on Wednesday. State health officials are confirming 19 new cases of COVID-19 across the state of North Dakota. 8 of these new cases were in Stutsman County and 6 were reported in Cass County. No new deaths have been reported and 28 patients are currently in the hospital receiving treatment. In total, 72 deaths have been linked to the illness. There are 482 active cases in the state. In Minnesota, the state health department is reporting 11 more deaths linked to the virus. Officials say this brings the death toll to 1,197. 955 of those deaths happened in a long-term care facility. 338 new cases are reported, bringing the active case count to 3,370. 23,657 people have recovered. The organizers behind Friday's peaceful rally held a media conference today to accuse the Fargo Police Department of illegal surveillance. The group, called One Fargo, says the problem goes beyond former Deputy Chief Todd Osmundson. Osmundson resigned last week after more than 30 years on the force. He was initially suspended for being undercover without permission during the May 30th riots in downtown Fargo. One Fargo didn't present any proof for the claims they made at today's conference.
We have information that shows the Fargo Police Department engaged in an illegal black ops mission against community activists and its citizens. The truth will not be set free when the police investigate themselves.
The city sent out a statement that One Fargo met with them this morning and made several accusations against police. Any complaints that are made against police in regard to the May 30th event will be reviewed by Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney as opposed to the police chief. The city of Houston held a final public memorial for George Floyd 2 weeks after he died in police custody. Former Vice President Joe Biden was meeting with the family privately today to express his condolences. Danya Backus reports from Houston.
One by one, mourners, including members of law enforcement, filed past George Floyd's casket, paying their respects at a public viewing in Houston.
It was just terrifying for me to see how that officer did this guy.
I'm just so tired of people dying unjustly.
Floyd grew up in the city and later moved to Minneapolis, where he died 2 weeks ago in police custody. Former Vice President Joe Biden and Texas Governor Greg Abbott both met privately with his family and offered their condolences.
I wore this tie on purpose because this is the color of Houston Yates, where George Floyd was a tremendous athlete. So this is in honor of George Floyd and his commitment to athletics here in the Lone Star State.
The viewing here in Houston is the last public event to honor George Floyd, whose death touched off massive protests nationwide against police brutality.
The American public is responding to this murder in a way that validates human life. Everyone has stopped and paused and said, can we make this one the last one?
An invitation-only memorial service and private burial for Floyd will be held in Houston Tuesday. Danya Backus, CBS News, Houston.
Chauvin's bail has been set at $1.2 million. The Houston high school where Floyd graduated from in 1993 will hold a candlelight vigil in his memory this morning. Speaker Nancy Pelosi and congressional Democratic leaders held a moment of silence earlier today. It lasted 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the length of time that former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck as the unarmed black man lay handcuffed in the street, gasping for breath. Floyd later died. Chauvin and 3 other police officers on the scene have been fired and now face criminal charges.
Last summer, a number of us, under the leadership of Karen Bass, went to Ghana to observe the 400th anniversary of the first slaves coming across the Atlantic. That tragedy, that horror of history, and then slavery in our own country, and then all of the consequences of that. We're here to observe that pain.
Pelosi says they want to continue to speak out against police brutality and honor George Floyd. Protesters painted "End Racism Now" on a street in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. City officials gave protesters permission to close West Martin Street for the painting demonstration. The large yellow letters were added in Raleigh days after the mayor of Washington, D.C. had the words "Black Lives Matter" painted on a street near the White House. Protesters in Raleigh say they want Confederate monuments at the North Carolina State Capitol building to come down. Still ahead tonight, the latest after a vote in the Minneapolis City Council moves to defund the police department.
And right away, we want to let you know that Grand Forks County now has been placed in a tornado warning. A rotating thunderstorm working its way out of the Northwood area is heading in towards Emerado right now. Where you see the pink box here is the area of concern for the tornado warning. The rotation here moving to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour, and Emerado is in the path of this, as would be the air base off to the west of Grand Forks. Here's a look at the velocities or rotation being picked up by the radar, and actually, you see the reds and the greens right here, and keeping our eyes on the skies right now is Eric Whitehill, and I do want to check in if he is available. There is the base of the cloud, it looks like. Eric, tell us what you're seeing, and are you seeing rotation in that cloud base?
Hutch, right now I am starting to see some very slight rotation. I am looking directly west of Thompson, right into where this area of rotation is going to be. A lot of upward rising motion. No funnels, no tornadoes yet, but I'm going to keep my eye on it for you for the next few minutes to make sure that it doesn't drop a tornado in the meantime. Back to you.
And again, before we go to break, I do want to make sure that you folks that are in the Emerado area along Highway 2 to the west of Grand Forks are seeking shelter. And again, as Eric said, there's no tornado on the ground right now, but this storm is rotating aloft. The Doppler radar is picking that up, and it's moving in your general direction. We'll be there shortly. Coming up after the break, full weather. We'll have another look at this storm and your forecast for a wild ride tonight. Valley News Live, First Alert Weather is next.